Is Suzanne joining?
Hello, hello, hello. This is Brough Perkins broadcasting with you guys here on the Afterlife page. Nice to see you all once again. You just had an image of Chris slinging me a look. Chris just joined with us. We were getting this together, this dog and pony show together last minute. Although, I did let you all know yesterday that we were coming on today at 5. Now, I know there's members of this group from all over the planet, so 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, God knows when that is your time. I know we have a few people in the UK who asked me, bro, can you go on earlier? 7 o'clock is like 3 in the morning for us. Can you like go on earlier? 8 o'clock is too late. So we're trying this a little earlier, folks, today to see if we get a few different calls this time. But without further ado, since you already saw his face, we're welcoming back Chris, the tarot medium. Hi, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Great, great. It's good to have you. So, I wanted to talk a little bit with you about tarot because you have an interesting title, the tarot medium, and it's interesting because you don't find those two words together. It's usually tarot reader. So,
Yeah,
and of course, the group that we're broadcasting to tonight is the Afterlife Group. So, everybody in it is interested in contacting their loved ones and talking about their encounters with. So, maybe you could break it down like, how do you feel the tarot can interface with mediumship?
so it provides a narrative for me to look at the structure of somebody's life, living or dead, as to who they may have been, values they might have held or currently hold, and the social statuses and things that brought them a lot of joy. So I can take a look at different aspects of people's lives. So it's like peering into a window with each card and where I dedicate the placements to. And the cards, to be honest, they could be dryer lint. I've said this many times before. It could be anything.
Or
And
tea
if
leaves
I
or
focus
runes, right?
tea leaves, but I find cards to be they're packed full of symbolism. I find colors really trigger me well, and I can kind of get lost in each card and see more dynamic stories about that individual's life. So, and sometimes if I really slip into that trance-like state, I can, just like you, provide names, dates, and places, which provide evidential mediumship.
Right, right. Okay, interesting. So, how do you think that works? In other words, like for me, the dead interface with my psyche and flash images to my mind. I know you have visions too, so it's not like this is exclusive just to me. But the difference between us is you use cards in addition to getting those mental images and flashes and impressions, and the cards sometimes reflect something that you're already feeling and seeing. So that's like a double confirmation,
Exactly.
right?
That's exactly what it is. It's giving my for lack of better terms, ego that confirmation that I'm accurate in what I'm seeing and feeling. And sometimes I won't necessarily see or feel it right away, but seeing something in a card it'll trigger that like alignment of what that vision is, and all of a sudden it's a stronger vision that comes in, starting with clairvoyance and then working its way into other sensory areas, and then I'm able to convey a more well-rounded message. And it also confirms that message, so there's no second guessing it like, most people do.
Right, right. Okay, that's interesting. So now, do you think, because the cards sometimes, well, not sometimes, but I find the cards work on a level of synchronicity. Some force, some
Hmm.
unknown force is influencing, be it through ourselves subconsciously and our muscle movements, which cards we pick, or when to make us stop so the right cards fall. Because I'll tell you a quick story. I've got two. So I did a reading on my lad Dalen before he left for the military, and I got a specific set of cards, and like two cards in the set I thought maybe shouldn't have been upside down, but I left them that way. And then a few months later, a girlfriend of mine who reads cards did a set for him, and she got almost every card the same, except the two cards that I thought were the wrong way were the correct way, the way I thought they ought to be when she did the set. Now, the odds of this
Hmm.
happening are like trillions to one. It's unbelievably impossible that this should happen, that she'd pull a lot of the same. I think only one card was different for him with her. And without her knowing what I had said to him, she said almost identical messages to him as to what I've said. So that was really impressive to me and showed me that some force is influencing the cards. Do you think the dead can influence the cards, or do you think it's some higher force in the universe on some level? Like,
I
what
think
the
it's a
heck's.
higher force.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like when all the synchronicities that more and more people are paying attention to now that we have access to a greater broadband of information globally, where people can connect more with that. But what I'm talking about is when you're writing something or when you're immersed in a thought form and something in the background, let's say like a song on the radio or a TV character will say the exact word that you're looking at on the page or that you're writing down. You're like, where did that come from? And then you're like, oh, well, that's nothing. And then you continue reading, writing, whatever, something in the background. And then they say the exact word that you've landed on again. And it's that synchronicity is what I found in the cards is what drew me to them as a tool because like you're right, the odds are there's more molecules in the entire universe than there are odds of you pulling the exact same cards in the exact same layout. So when you get the exact same cards, it's insane. Like that probability is improbable. And I feel like it's a greater work at force than just the dead. I can see and hear images from the deceased, similar to what you do, and the cards are a greater amount of synchronicity that align with those messages. So it's a double entendre, really.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so from your experience, the dead come more directly to you, not as much through the cards. So it's almost like two channels happening at once, but the cards are tied into some
Exactly.
bigger universal force. Okay, that's interesting to know. Yeah,
So like
that's
when we were
interesting.
doing readings on this channel, I forget one a few times ago,
Hmm.
there was somebody whose loved one. We were all you, Liz, and myself were all getting a well-rounded idea of who this person may have been, and a lot of what was coming up was that they were walking away from something, but they didn't get a moment to walk away from it. And then the next card was addiction. And so the combination of the cards also give you more. I will never just do one card. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's stupid. You pull some dryer lint, take a look at it, tell me what you feel. Two or more cards will give you more of a narrative as to who that person might have been, what their values were, and more of a structure as to their story. So in that reading specifically, I flipped it over and it said, "Oh, they were walking away from something that no longer serves them, but they didn't get a moment to because they're interrupted by a major life change, and addiction was the end of their time." So, and that person went through addiction. So,
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because Paola, the psychic I used to go to who used cards, she would talk about the dead, but she wouldn't. It wouldn't seem like the dead were coming through or giving messages personally. She would say, like to me one time, I was about 16 or 17, and she said, looking at the card, she goes, "Oh, your mother's father died at 57 from a heart attack," and that's exactly true. But it wasn't like she was saying he's telling me, and she didn't have a personal message from him. It was just this sort of circumstance, which is similar to what I'm reminded of when you just described tuning into the circumstances and to almost like the life themes of the deceased person. Is that true? And but it's not to say you don't get the dead more directly. So it's almost like it can, in some sense, link you into them a little bit. Could it?
hmm so it's either the cards, there's a symbol in the cards or a combination of the cards that have been pulled
Mm-hmm.
that trigger that image, or like maybe that image was floating around to begin with, and I just kind of wasn't really paying enough attention to it, and then that aligned it. I'm like, oh, that's what that is, and it just immediately connects things.
All
I actually
right.
got one of my I've been doing a lot of psychic fairs and Christmas craft fairs and just meeting more people. I love doing live readings. And um, I had one lady who I haven't met her before, didn't know anything about her, and I gave her what I considered one of the best readings. A name came through, and I could see her children. I could see so much. And afterwards, she was not so floored. She was uh, genuinely touched and moved, and she got the validation she needed. So I felt my job was complete. And at the end of it, she wrote me a review, and it was a 4 out of 5 stars. And I wrote her back and said, "Oh, was that a mistype? Like, did you want to correct that?" Like, I felt like, oh, did I do something wrong? The review was fantastic, and she said, "No, I meant to give you a 4 star review because I've seen many people who've said that they're gifted and they're not. You are gifted, and the reason why I gave you 4 stars is because you started seeing so much and you were trusting your intuition, and then something made you second guess yourself, and you leaned more into the meaning of the cards." She's like, "I want you to remember this review for future clients." And I'm like, "Oh, damn, that's good. Thank you."
Okay. That's always been my criticism of not of you, but of tarot readers I've met. Because you, I see having the potential to be like Paola, the one that I told you about, who's like, oh, your mother's father died at 57 from a heart attack.
Hmm.
Paola never explained anything about the cards. Her cards were so shuffled that there were barely any images on them anymore. I made the mistake one time of saying, oh, they look old. And she goes, they're just used. And okay. Oh, and this brings me to one of my questions, which I'll ask you after I finish this quick point, which is Paola was definitely a psychic. Her grandmother was a famous medium in Italy, and I mean, her grandmother scared the mob with the things she could see and do. And anyway, Paola grew up around a great medium for a grandma, and so using cards almost felt like just a tool. Like you've called them. I love this. You call them psychic training wheels, right?
Psychic training wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
And
But
that's where that review came from, was like she saw me lean into the training wheels when a client is paying for you to have that flow. So
yeah, well, that's amazing to hear you doing that. And you did a psychic thing just now, by the way, because I wanted to ask you to tell us any stories of good readings you've had recently, and then you just launched right into it before I could even ask the questions. So you have that definitely tapped in. Now, I wanted to ask because Paula, when she read the cards, she would just literally flip every card in the deck. She would have
yeah, you
you,
can do that.
yeah, she'd shuffle them, and then she'd have you shuffle them, and then you'd split with your left hand 3 piles, and then she would take all three and she'd just start flipping them all. And so, how do you do it? What's your spread like? Do you do different ones, and do
You
they
can
mean?
you can do that for sure, and it's extremely time consuming. It
Mm-hmm.
does give you a great big story as well,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how in depth you go with each card. I like to use them more as windows because that was my introduction to them. At first, like we've known each other forever. I wasn't immediately latched onto a set of tarot cards and like held onto it at face value. I'm like, this is what this means. This is no, I always wanted to explore and develop more mediumship and more telepathy and more remote viewing. I want to strength train that for life. I'm committed.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was over COVID, I had a deck of tarot cards, and I think they were just sitting on the shelf, and I brought them down and I went to go read for a few friends. And the one friend I read for, it took like 2 hours to get through all these cards that we drawn, and the window, they became windows and not cards, and I could see her life playing out as each character or each aspect of what these were and what they represented. And they were just almost like there's an animation to each of them. And I was like, whoa, these have way more of an impact on my psyche right now in the state of mind that I've put myself in. And it was that slippery state of mind where you can just flow with your messages and you can honor the impressions you're getting from spirit. And they had an animation to them. And I was like, okay, there's more to this. I want to start reading more. And so I started researching and reading and getting deep into it, and it became something more than just the meanings.
Very interesting. All right. Well, how about we take a call?
Sure.
All right. We're gonna have Zoom user come in now. There's no name attached to this, so let's see who this is. Hi. Audio is connecting, so we should have you in just a moment. You're not quite here yet, but you're almost here. There you go. Hi there.
Is that me you're talking to?
It certainly is. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Yami. I'm calling from Maine.
Hi, Yami from Maine. Nice to have you. So, as you know, we're doing a psychic live stream here on the Afterlife Group. The rule is
Okay.
you can either make a comment, ask a question generally, or about the process, or you can ask a question about yourself. But please make it a question. Don't say, "What do you see?" That's not a question. You have to hone it down for us because
Has to
these are
be
very short
specific.
readings.
Um, I don't know how to word it, I guess.
Okay, what's it about?
Someone I lost?
Right. Okay. So, was this a man?
Yes.
Okay. So this doesn't feel as old as a father or something. This seems like someone who went before their time. Was this a partner to you?
Mm-mm.
How do you relate to this person?
He's my son.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. It's far too young, far too young. Did you stay with his father?
Mm-mm.
That's interesting because I feel like it was a pre. Okay, so that's why I got partner energies because, like, he's your son, but you two were partners in crime for a little while. Like, you were there for each other in a big way. But my energy, what I'm sensing from the energy around you is a person who went way too soon. He's trying to get through to you in dreams lately. He's going to succeed at this. You've been asking for this, and it's going to
Yeah.
work. Um, there were unanswered questions at first around his death, but then I feel you have the answers correct somehow. So, like, the answers come. Um, did you have to wait for some kind of report after he passed to find out all the answers, or was it that you didn't know right away when he had passed?
No, I knew,
Mm-hmm.
but
I get question marks around his passing, so that's a symbol to me that there wasn't all the information just right away, or people doubted the cause or
right,
something.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we learned a lot more after.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I do sense accidental. I don't sense intentional in some way. So that seems important. Now, that starts to make me wonder, but I want to leave some for Chris because I sense Chris is picking up some stuff too. So we're going to let him pick up the flank here, but I'm just going to leave you some of these impressions, and Chris and I will build the story for you. But his energy's there. And oh, I just saw a little cat. um, do you have a cat on Earth, or did you guys have one that had passed?
we had one years and years
Yeah,
ago.
years ago. I just feel like it's just a funny little detail that the cat's with him. Um, One of his grandmothers seems to have helped him over or been there for him when he crossed. Was that his dad's side or was that yours?
Pine?
Yeah, only one, it seems like she was there.
Yeah.
Now, did mom have either a cognitive impairment? I feel something sudden at the end, but I feel like a lot of medication. Was she going from an illness like a cancer that caused her to be not fully present at the very end of her life? Like mentally, was she?
Mm. She was on a ventilator.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. Okay, because I just feel like they must have had her in some kind of mental fog, like with medication toward the very end, because of complications from a long form medical problem. But I feel like she was there for him when he crossed. I'm seeing April with a birthday or something, or April with anniversary. Do you have that for your mom, or for you, or for your son?
His birthday was March 31st.
Oh, okay, so right at the literally at the 1st of April. Okay, that might be why I'm going there. And oh, he loves you very much. This has not been that long. Are we in the first 2 years roughly?
6 months.
Oh, okay. Sorry to hear. Yeah, it's very recent. Chris, do you have anything you want to add? I'm leaving some of this here for you as well, so we build this.
Thank you. I also saw a nourishing association. Uh, I'll just show you what I'm pulling because I'm using cards as well. The um, the Two of Cups shows me that there was a very nourishing association between you and your son. And then the other card that came right after that, because I'm like, how is this a nourishing association? Is this a lover or? And then the card for a mother came up, a very strong, powerful mother figure who then that tells
There's
me that
also a
this
little
would
cat.
be your.
There's a cat in the card, and that.
Yes, you noticed exactly. So
If you don't
if
mind
I were
showing
to
that again, like hold up for a moment while you talk, Chris. And you'll have to talk so it
So
shows your screen.
this card represents to me the trigger that I get is a very powerful mother figure who's all-encompassing, looking out for other people before herself. And also, there's a cat there because it shows that you are looking out for the vulnerable. So your cause and concern is for those who are more vulnerable than yourself. And then the nourishing association that you have, this card can be typically seen as lovers, but the bond between these two people is a nourishing association. And so the context that I'm given is motherhood, essentially. And then when I asked how your son passed, in my mind, I was given this card which shows head trauma and being defensive and on guard. So they were protecting something that they were hiding, essentially. There was a sense of vulnerability that they didn't really want to let anyone in. And there was a head trauma that I also felt as well. So that gave me, I don't know if it was like brain injury, but there was something overwhelming and stimulating that shut things down. And finally, I asked, is there anyone that is looking out for this person on the other side? And I saw a grandfather figure. Bro saw a
Grandma, and
grandmother,
you've
but
got grandpa.
this is this is a grandfather figure that I saw watching out for him. So it was a space of youth. There's a nourishing association. You are the mother, and I feel like there was a passing with head trauma.
Let's unpack this. So, first things first, um, how did your son pass? Do you want to help us understand these visions?
Um, he uh, he committed suicide, and he took this poison that they were able to save him. Like his heart stopped multiple times, but what ultimately killed him was the lack of oxygen to his brain.
Right. Okay. And I thought it was some sort of drug overdose, but I thought I saw accidental. So I think it's one of those
Well, the thing is that after he took it, he called 911.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Like people who jump off the Golden Gate realize all their problems are small compared to what they're going through right there, and it's like they can
Yeah.
solve things. And so it was sort of he wants to frame it like a his mental state was almost like a cancer of the brain, if you will. Great depression and all of that. So thank you for this. Now I wanted to ask one other thing, Chris. If you recall when I was seeing the cat, was that after you pulled that particular card in the reading?
No, that was well after yes, I pulled my cards and I was kind of taking a look at what the narrative would be, and you mentioned the cat, and it was what I was looking at. So
Because I wondered if the spirit was aware of your cards, if your son was aware of Chris's cards at the time and was making a reference to the little cat on the card. Because I know you had a cat, you said, but this could have been that as well. Okay, very
and then
fascinating.
I also just quickly I just got a J name as well, so it's the letter initial J, and I just want to reiterate the thing that he was putting behind him and guarding. There's a sense of vulnerability with that, and sometimes embarrassment. So some
Yeah.
people they think it's a lot easier to just exit and start fresh and hit the restart button, but then in the final moments they realize that those things actually never mattered and that there's love all encompassing regardless. So I think that's why he would have called 911, and just so you know your son is in a very safe space and he's okay where he is. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the reasons it was you he was thinking about too. Do you know who the J name would have been to him? Was that a recent relationship or somebody else in his life?
No, I had woken up in the middle of the night with a weird dream, and for some reason I grabbed my phone and I checked my Find My app thing because we had all shared.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my four kids had all shared our location, and I saw him driving around at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I texted him, and we texted back and forth for like an hour and a half, and then his phone stopped. He turned it off, and that's when he did it. And then I thought he was going back home, but he was really in an ambulance
Mm-hmm.
after calling 911. And then he was in the ICU for about 6 days
Mm-hmm.
before they told us that we needed to take him off.
I thought you were
I
going to
don't know.
say he was in ICU for 3 days, so it might even be that
6.
days.
It was 6 days. It was 6 days.
Yeah, but it might, but the reason I see 3 might be because within 3 days is when his soul lifted, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, I
Right?
see.
Yeah, yeah, because he waited for you to say goodbye properly. Yeah, yeah, he's with you. You're going to get another dream soon. When was the last dream you had of him? Was that about a week ago?
No, it's been maybe a couple months, but I had this dream that I was walking towards a phone, like an old timey phone, and I said, "That's it. I'm calling heaven right now." And I picked up this phone, and I could hear it dialing, and then his voice answered
Hmm.
and said, "Hello," and I woke up.
Yeah, yeah. That was I had the same kind of thing the night my mother passed away as well. I had another dream like similar to yours, but a little different dynamics. But yes, that was definitely a premonition. So he's working on it. He'll be there to see you. I think maybe within a week you're gonna have a dream of him with him in it. So please feel free to message me and let me know. Okay, as soon as that happens, and I'll help you interpret. But I want to thank you very much for your call and stay tuned.
I appreciate it so much that you even took my call. I really do. I
Absolutely.
can't tell you how much it means to me.
It's a process. It's right now the shock is still there. So in about I'd say 3 to 4 months,
Yeah,
grief is going to be the main focus and the healing begins. But your son will be walking with you, and I have a feeling this is not the last time we'll speak.
I hope so.
Good, good. All right.
All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All right, we'll talk to you
Take
again.
care.
So Chris, I love that. I love this idea that with the cards, you and I teaming up, it's like we're building the story and we're letting spirit influence us, and some interesting things happen, like the cat, which was that cat on the card. That's fascinating, right next to his mother.
I know.
And
I actually wondered if it was you that were like you were seeing that from me projecting it, but in my mind I could also see her nourishing smaller beings and then taking being there for animals, which not let's face it, not everyone is an animal person, and I could see that was so important to her, and I feel like the son had a bond as well with that cat. So
absolutely beautiful. Well, how about we take another call? We've got some people waiting, so we'll bring Jean on in. And I love that we're also seeing your cards, and if you talk while you hold them up for like maybe 20, 30 seconds each card that you want to show us, Chris, it's so cool because then we get a vision of what you are seeing and we understand a bit better about the process with these cards.
hmm
Because that's why I'm having you on, because I have no idea about tarot cards, no clue. Hi, Jean. Can you hear? Oh, you can't hear. Oh, we can't hear you. You've got to connect your audio. So I'm going to put you back in the weight room and I'm going to help you join. I'm going to let you in once more. And as soon as I let you in, you'll see a little thing that says, hey, join audio on your lower left side, usually. Okay. So click that join audio. We'll get used to it, folks. All right, Gene, you got to click the microphone button and you got to join your audio. Well, the microphone button will be on your Zoom screen to the lower left somewhere. There you go, connecting audio. Perfect. There you are.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Gene. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, it's nice to meet you too.
So
Although I feel I know you.
Oh, that's great. So where are you calling from?
I am calling from Northern Illinois.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, well, listen, so do you have a question for Chris and I?
Yes, I do. I have a question about someone who has passed in the spring on May 22nd, I believe. Very close person to me. And I don't know how much to say.
I was getting like a non-blood relative, but someone who's like a love best friend, someone you've known years. Is it like a family friend? Who would this be?
It's a love friend.
Ah, so
of mine.
non-blood but love. Okay, but
Yes.
were you previous lovers but you weren't together at the time of their passing?
Yes.
That's why I
Correct.
think it shifted into kind of family friend because you are ex-lovers in a sense, right?
No, we weren't ex-lovers,
Mhm.
but um, our journey together was a little bit tied up because he was going through some of his ex-lover
Right,
situation.
right. Understood. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't a traditional relationship settled down is what I think. Okay,
Not
perfect.
quite
So,
yet. Correct.
did he have some facial hair by the way? I
Yes.
just saw like a goatee or a beard or something. He was a handsome fella.
Yes. A
Uh,
mustache
yeah.
and maybe a little goatee.
Even just yeah, not like the chops or anything. Just a little, just around the mouth. And I
Yeah.
and I felt
Y-
and he's putting on sunglasses.
Oh, yes. He does that.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a little bit on the shy side.
Let's see here.
It's amazing that he put on the sunglasses.
Is this because he keeps giving me a T initial, but I don't believe that's him. Um,
Mm-mm.
was there a Tom or Tony or somebody that he loved like a dear friend like that?
Um, oh,
I
I
almost want to
don't.
categorize this like a younger person to him, like a son figure, but not his own. I'm going to leave that with you. I think that'll make some sense in some
Okay,
time.
I
It
have to
could be a
think that one
godson,
through.
could be a friend's son, someone that he's showing me is having a wedding or a turnaround in his life. Anyway, that's for the side. Oh, this man has been trying to create a sign for you that I feel like it's an aroma. Chris and I were doing a podcast that we talked about this about spirit aromas. Do you want to share a little bit about that, Chris? How they do that?
Yeah, it's just a scent that comes through. Sometimes it can be either cologne, a deodorant, that any familiar smell that has impressed itself on your psyche as a core memory. And sometimes you'll walk through it somewhere in a room, and you're like, and it could be a room in your house where that smell does not occur. I have to emphasize that it's not usually coming from someone external here on planet Earth. It's from them, and they're showing you that
I
that exists.
I believe it's true.
Yeah. Did you get any
We,
I
sense
know it's true.
since he passed?
I'm getting scents of vanilla. He loved it. The
Mm-hmm.
scent of vanilla. It's the only scent that he really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm getting these
And
scents.
it wafts across your face in the room as though there's a vanilla candle, but then you realize there isn't really a vanilla candle that I've lit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's him doing that for you. Thank you, Chris. By the way, Chris, that's a
Oh,
perfect explanation. I couldn't have said it. Really, I couldn't have said it that well, even. Um, Now, of course, Chris is pulling some cards because this is what we're doing. We're building the narrative
okay.
for your loved ones. So we're gonna kind of psychic tag team here.
It's
But
wonderful.
while I have these brief connections with him, he's actually really happy. He's okay where he is. He's sorry he had to leave you so soon. One thing that he loved about your love connection is that you're just easygoing and fun. Like you made him laugh. You're actually
Yeah,
you guys laughed together. You had fun together. Like you could even do anything. Like whether it was going for wings or going to a movie or just even grocery shopping, you'd have fun. And
yes,
he was not used to that because where his ex was concerned, and he loves everybody. He loves his ex too. But it's like this was a person who needed someone to rescue them. This is a person who was not controlling herself, and so she tried to control him. And so there's a lot of
exactly.
themes of overbearing, kind of the devouring mother theme in his life, and it'll be very
Yes.
interesting what cards Chris might have come up with. So I wanna give him the floor. Actually, Chris, do you have anything you
Thank
want to
you.
add?
Yeah, the first card that I pulled, I asked, how do you know this person? And the first card that came up was the card for heartache, showing that there's usually, this impresses me with the number three as well, because that's another card that I pulled. But this tells me that it was either a lover or an ex-lover, and the word ex also came to mind. So the number three and X. So I don't know if you were the third person
Or
involved in some
what
sort of
about
love triangle with them.
triangle?
Um,
Exactly.
Hmm.
Mm,
but complicated, X situation, and then
Hmm.
I said, what would he have done for work? And the card for tradesperson came up. And there's not one card for tradesperson, like that would be insane. So the card for working together with others, showing a communion, and this also transcends into his personal life as well. So he works well within a structure of teamwork. And then the card of methodical uh, labor intensive, so manual labor as well
Hmm.
as possibly working within a union. And when I asked what he had any, if he had any messages for you, he said that you gave him a fresh start. This is like taking a leap when nobody else can see the path before them. You know that taking a step forward with this person will give you optimal results and creativity. So it's an expansion of family. And this also tells me that he has either one child, a son is what I'm kind of getting, or there may have been a few other children in the past, but there was one particular that resonates with that. And you were able to give him a fresh opportunity to reignite with his inner child.
Oh, that's just beautiful.
You know,
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, yeah. So,
do you
Jean,
see how
before you
he
ask your
transitioned?
before you ask your question, because I had an idea about how he might have transitioned, so I'll answer that in a second. But
Okay.
going back to what Chris said, while it's still fresh in our minds, what did your honey do for work? Because I thought that was interesting with the trades and all this.
Yeah, he's a plumber.
Oh my gosh.
He worked in a Catholic college um, as a plumber for over 20 years.
Okay, a Catholic college as a
And
plumber. Chris, would you mind holding that card up and saying something once again so we could see what that?
exactly.
So the card for working within a team dynamic is this one. And then the
Hmm.
card for what I consider these two cards together specifically. Here, I'll just turn that stupid light off. These two cards specifically tell me immediately that it's a tradesperson and working manual labor jobs and very methodical with his hands. So he's working with his hands, very skilled tradesperson.
Yes.
But what
And that is
interests
so
me
true.
is the architecture in the trades card that almost looks kind of cathedral like.
It is cathedral like, yeah.
And
So I
I'm
Yes,
could go
I
further
noticed.
into that as well.
right, right. So I just thought that's very interesting. So I got goosebumps, Chris. You're giving me
Me
freaking
too.
goosebumps. You too, Gene.
Yes.
I kind of saw like a heart attack for some reason. I thought it was sudden, and I was just getting a chest pounding. So what did they tell you as far as you know with his passing?
Um, it was a suicide. He, do you want me to tell you how?
Well, all I got was sudden, and I was getting like a pounding here.
Yes. Well,
So
one of the things that you might be feeling is for when the person that found him, a complete stranger, thought that the way it was reported, and for hours until it was actually studied by the police or whatever, they thought that it was a cardiac arrest. So you
okay,
might be feeling that,
yeah, right,
but it
okay.
didn't turn out to be that.
Was it something like
Or he
carbon?
might have had a cardiac arrest,
What was it?
maybe.
Right, but was it carbon monoxide or something, strangulation or
No,
something?
it was a gun.
A gun. Oh, I see. Okay, so they didn't see the wound. Well, that
They didn't.
where did he hit himself with the gun?
From what I understand, it was in the head,
Okay.
and I get a real strong feeling that it was in his right temple, but I'm not sure because maybe you can tell me.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think I was just getting. I thought heart attack because it was sudden and boom. But in these online readings, because your loved ones don't necessarily know we're going to do this, so it's on the fly.
Right.
I think what we have to pay attention to is whether it's a long drawn out disease or if it's a sudden passing, these sorts of things. And I find
Right.
suicide death is not always something they brag about or talk about as openly. It's a little more
Exactly.
personal. So anyway, that's what I think I saw. But I don't think you have any misinformation. I think it's all exactly as you think it is. Yeah, and his
Is it
cause.
possible because 24 hours went by since I had last seen him and talked to him, and there was a lot of things going on with between him and his estranged wife. And I'm wondering if the cardiac arrest isn't wrong and it was happening when he actually did that. It's just maybe there was a lot that I didn't know about his mental health because of all of the years he was with this woman for many years and being controlled, from what I understand. So I don't know. I think that he was like so afraid of her, like he didn't. I have a feeling that if he would have stayed, it would have been the end of us because he was too afraid to take those final steps and sign those papers. That's my feeling. And I don't think he could live with himself.
Well, I'm going to let Chris add to this first before I say anything, in case Chris has the same sense as I.
So I did get a sense. I started seeing a little bit more of him as well, and he's got his speed dealer sunglasses on, as Brough pointed out. He just reminds me of like an Easterner, like Boston type. And then I got the month of October and the letter A, so I don't know if that means anything. And
I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it's a female person, and then the month of October, I don't know if that was his passing or the month of his birth.
Well, A, the female with the letter A, is the name of his estranged wife.
Yeah,
that's what I was
Over, I don't see as significant.
He did. There's a lot of love for her because he was such a. I feel like he was secretly sensitive, and he made this hard shell of protection of this tough guy that he needed to be. He could be as sensitive with you, but he couldn't be like that with her. So he never stopped loving her, which is what made this so convoluted and difficult. So he saw no other way out.
It's like Munchausen syndrome or whatever, that where you fall in love with your captor,
I know.
right?
Yeah, fall in love with your captor. So you gave him his sense of freedom. He was a very loving individual who I think just fell into the wrong relationship and couldn't get a way out because he felt like it would have affected you as well negatively if he had have moved forward with you.
Yeah, he saw no way out. Now his mother, he witnessed his mother go through tough times in life, and so he kind of saw how he had to fill his dad's big shoes when he was too young to do it. Can you tell us a little bit about this, Jean?
His father was very abusive towards his mother. Physical, verbal, the whole thing. And they finally split up after years. And he has one sister, and that's basically how it was. He was the only male in the family to kind of carry the load.
And so you see,
from what I understand, the mother has probably some, mental health issues from everything she experienced.
And so you can see how, and who's the M initial in all of this? The M, like Mark or Matt or Mike? It's okay. Just keep that on file because maybe you'll find out it was his dad or the only nice man to him. Maybe it was his uncle or his grandfather, but you'll find it later. So the point that I'm trying to make is, because he's given me this impression that he had to see his mother go through this kind of hell. So in his mind, women were always by default the good guy. And unconsciously, he found a woman that was essentially like his father, which was just not something he ever could conceive of in life.
Right.
So he kept on trying to fix her to be like, hey, you're supposed to be like the innocent one here. And that was his part, because he's taking responsibility now. That's his part in the dynamic. But Chris and I both saw that he was under a spell of control. There's no such thing as spells in this case. I'm saying that metaphorically speaking.
I get it.
And you were the symbol of freedom for him. And all he wanted was freedom. And he got frustrated because I think she was threatening him a lot financially and with some sort of a lie. And I think
Absolutely.
he just wanted to, he just said, well, then I'm taking my ball and going home. Essentially, that's what
I know
his,
everything I imagined it to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so
Um,
sorry for your loss there,
does
but
he
yeah.
feel, I personally feel abandoned. And I just want him to know that I'm glad that he's happy and feeling much better than he did during all those years. And I'm sad that he didn't see the path to our future and all the plans that we were making together. And I'm sad also that didn't know, I didn't have enough information to know that maybe I should just not pursue this until he could do it on his own, I guess. I feel like I don't know. When our
You,
friendship first began, it began in these terms of, will you help me find a better attorney? Will you, things like that. And I met him through mutual friends that I was made aware of his situation and the separation and all that about 2 years, at the very least 1.5 years before him and I actually met. And I don't know, sometimes I wonder if there was a little bit of a lack of honesty toward me, but I almost don't think it's important anymore. I want to know if he's happy that I continually try to connect with him. Do they get happy in the afterlife to get called upon?
oh yes, oh,
I
it's so wonderful for them because they can't get our attention very easily. You did nothing to contribute to this. In fact, you probably kept him alive longer, quite frankly.
Oh, thank you for telling me that.
Very
I
clearly.
I have tremendous guilt and and I also feel really sorry for myself.
Mhm.
um but I just want to keep moving forward with him in our relationship as it is now. And
That's a good phrase. It's a new relationship. It's a spiritual relationship now.
yes,
He's also going to try to send birds or butterflies to you in a strange way, okay? So be aware of those symbols aside from the vanilla.
thank you so very much. And I have to tell you that he has been doing that. And I continue to keep my eyes up, and it's a healthy thing. And I love him very much, and I just want him to know.
I have some homework for you.
Okay.
Write him a brief letter, like a little card, and burn it. Like he can read all of your words. He can see everything that you're writing. So just put it into writing for him, because those cards meant so much to him when he was alive, and he'll see all those words again, and it'll just lift him up even more. Spirits do feel happiness. They're in a place of eternal, perpetual bliss, and essentially, they don't have the same sensations that we do. However, he
So when I
will
call
feel that
upon him,
emotion.
through a medium, um, and the connection is made, this is not a stressful, like, and if he didn't want to show up, he wouldn't, right?
Oh,
Honey,
absolutely.
you don't need a medium to call him up. We are each capable of doing all of this. It's just focusing and letting your mind be open to receiving the impressions. So you don't need somebody special to communicate with him. You can
Oh, thank
sit
you
Do you
there.
so
know? Do you know what
much.
they
He's
showed?
there all the time.
Do you know what they showed me, Gene?
With
They impressed upon me. My mother impressed upon me after she had passed away when I was 25. When I try to reach her or when I talk to her through a medium, it's as if from her perspective she's getting a phone call from the one person she wants to hear from the most. Like, you remember
Hmm.
back in the days when we actually used to have to stay at home to wait for that special phone call and we get so excited
Yes.
with the butterflies? That's how they feel. They feel excited when you do this.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for letting me know because I'm always talking to him and I'm always trying to bring him in. And I'm trying to learn and develop my skills or my ability, I should say, to do this on my own. Because, like you guys are saying, we all have this ability. It's almost as if it just started to. Is it like a trauma that will bring on this kind of awakening?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, trauma can bring
Yeah.
it up. Yep, yep. It's a survival mechanism, I think. So trauma
Okay.
will wake up our survival mechanisms. You know, like a mother whose baby falls under a car and then she has the power to
Yes.
lift the car up. It's like your
Sure.
psychic abilities can activate in these situations. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm working on it because
Great. Well, I'll be doing
I
a
want this
course.
spiritual relationship with him.
I'll be doing a course. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a kind of subscription for $10 a month and then having teachers like Suzanne and Chris and myself every week doing courses on
Okay.
private Zoom calls where we can help you with development and do practice and such together. And that way
I
everybody
am
just,
in.
because I don't like this, all this money. People are, psychics are always like $300. No, no, no. $10 a month every week. We're all going to get together. We're going to talk. It's going to be great.
Oh,
And the more the hands, the lighter the load, right?
it's so beautiful. I just so appreciate it. And I am in.
Awesome. All right, Gene. With that said, we'll speak to you again and happy holidays. All right. So, Chris, wonderful work. I really found that fascinating. Plumber for the Catholic Church, and then yet that freaking card had a temple on it. That
Yeah.
was amazing. It was holding a pot in
So
it or
if
something.
I had have made the reach and like if we had more than 15 minutes to really sit down and go deeper into it, that connection could have been made for sure. And I didn't have a chance to mention this, but when I asked about his relationship, perhaps with his family, it showed me another card for a mother figure and mental imprisonment. So that's the card of synapses not really connecting, and there's a bit of a mental impairment or disconnect. So
Brilliant.
it's
Oh,
it's fascinating, right? Like these cards have so many different meanings, and depending on the context and how you're looking at them, they can convey pretty powerful messages.
well, even the heart with three swords and it being a love triangle kind of scenario. That's fantastic. We've got one more caller, and we're going to have to make this a quick one. Chris, are you good for one more?
Hmm.
All right, let's do a quickie here with Lisbeth. Let's just check in with her. So we're going to bring you on in, Liz. Connecting audio. Wonderful. Lisbeth knows what she's doing. She's been on the show before. Hi, my friend. How are you doing?
Oh,
Yeah.
good days, bad days.
Yeah. Just keep going. That's the best we can hope for
Yeah.
at this point. So did you have a question or a comment for Chris and I?
Yeah, so I kind of told my son to like go because I just felt he was hanging around and it was just kind of like negative. And now I haven't had any signs in a while, so now I'm sad. So I'm kind of like a yo-yo. So I just want to know if he's okay, if he's happy, if he's at peace, and
Good
I
question.
forgive him so he doesn't have to keep apologizing. I feel like he's stuck, or he was stuck and now he's gone and now I miss him.
I actually heard I'm not gone, Mom, but I get that. I get
Yeah,
that with the caveat that
yeah.
he actually has been spending a little time in the spirit world, but he's been studying something. It's like he's learning how to do more to influence his kids and influence his family on Earth. So he's working on things like this right now. It's actually interesting to him, and I'm going to let Chris lead this reading now for two reasons. One, I have to go to the bathroom. And then two, also, I've read you a few times now, Lisbeth. So I think Chris might be a fresh perspective. So, Chris, I'll be back in approximately 1 minute.
Perfect.
Show's yours.
And it's Lisbeth, right?
Yeah, you can call me Liz. It's fine.
Hi, Liz.
Hi.
So the first card that I pulled, I wanted to know more about who your son may have been, and the card that I pulled was that of there is a mental conflict going on and an unusual way of applying mental agility. So that tells me that there may have been a disconnect with something mentally. I'm seeing perhaps an accident or a conflicting situation happening quite quickly. And then also the King of Cups is telling me more about who he was. And so he was actually quite sensitive in nature, perhaps a water sign. I'm getting the sense of Pisces or Cancer, uh, more water sign than not. So that tells me that is that correct?
He was born in March 12th.
Yeah, so a Pisces. And so
Yeah.
he, it's quite a sensitive nature to this person who may have found himself in a conflicting situation or trying to fit in with the wrong people. And I feel like there may have been an accident with that because I'm seeing a lightning flash. So it's a quick exit from this realm. Is that correct?
Yeah, so he was supposed to go into rehab on Monday and he couldn't sleep. So somebody gave him something to sleep, and unfortunately, it was fentanyl. And
Yes.
that was it. That was it.
I'm
It was Mother's Day
I,
weekend.
oh,
Yeah, it was
my
horrible.
deepest condolences, and I can tell that you're putting on a very you've done some healing work as well yourself because to show up here and have a smile on your face and have your heart open like this, it takes a very special courage to be here and do this. And I can tell that you've put that work in to build that special relationship with him now that he's on the spirit side. And even if you tell him to go away, he won't. He's just
Okay.
will stop impressing himself as much because he's trying to communicate. So you can tell him to go away all he wants and he won't go anywhere. He'll just
I don't want him to go away. I just want him to
no.
where he needs to be for some
He'll
peace.
always be where he needs to be, but there's such a special bond between mother and son that he he will always be kind of waiting for you on the other side, and he wants to make sure that he's the one that greets you when you get there. So that's not to be concerned. You can't banish him and say you're not welcome here anymore. You need to move
Okay.
on. He'll always be waiting for you, and he's in a very
Okay.
safe space to do so. There's also I said, is there a message for your mom? And he said it's something to do with his dad actually, and it's the card that I pulled is the Hierophant. So I don't know if I get the sense that his father's here in the physical realm, and he just wanted to say something about that. There was either a disconnection with him and his father, or he doesn't. There may have been some final words that may have been misconstrued, and he wants to make sure that there's peace with that as well. I think he's aware of how much the connection is between you two. So, and it's something about giving freely as well. The card that I pulled about what he was wanting to do with his life and work, because he was gone too way too quick, was to give back to community, and I feel like he was a bit of a bleeding heart in that sense. So the card that I got is the seven of
Yeah.
coins, and this tells me, or six of coins, and it tells me that he was a bleeding heart, and just any resources he had, he wanted to better the community around him and give to other people before himself. And he would have gone into healthcare, I believe.
That is so true. Well, he was incarcerated for a while, and when he got, when he got out, he worked two jobs, and he would give people that he was incarcerated with. He would send them money when they got out. He would make sure they had underwear and underclothes and socks and Amazon packages, and he would give his last dime to anybody, to
To
anybody.
help them have that fresh start.
Yeah, yeah. So I
That's
kind of felt,
amazing.
well, that was my prayer, was when he got out, he would get involved in helping other inmates get readjusted to society, because there's really no help for people who are incarcerated. Even
I
if
feel like his community that he was with, he was the person who helped label other people's emotions and help them navigate their own emotions and their own unravel some of their turmoil. So I feel like he was misplaced in the system and unfortunately ended up in that situation. But he was there to teach these very tough individuals. He was put into the mud pit of humanity to teach these people how to thrive and give them a validation of their emotions. So he was there to, because he's such a sensitive person, and he was put into that world where he was able to teach them how to develop and grow and label their emotions in ways that their parents couldn't. So he was very important to that community.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Before,
and I don't know.
sorry, Chris, I just wanted to confirm something with our caller here, Elizabeth. Um, Chris had mentioned about your son's father and his relationship. Can you go into any light detail about that to verify what Chris was seeing?
So his father disowned him when he was incarcerated, and when my son got out, he worked so hard. And Brett's birthday was March 12th, and he expected some kind of a phone call from his dad, just to say happy birthday, or I'm glad you're doing well. I see you're working. You bought yourself your own truck. You did all this on your own, and the phone call never came. And Brett started spiraling like after that, which made me mad because he had me and his kids, and he had an army behind him. So that makes me mad that that was the key, if that was a spiral. But I'm understanding that there was all kinds of other spirals too. But I guess I want to blame his dad for it, and I know that's wrong. But
No, you can't.
I
All you
know,
can do is forgive.
I know. I'm not there yet.
Because I think Chris was saying that he forgives his dad. Is that what you were getting earlier, Chris?
He does.
Absolutely, yeah. He's in a place of, I think that may be the message too, is that because the message wasn't for you, it's for his dad. And that may be more for you than not, because
Yeah.
um, there's a sense of peace there at
Oh,
letting go.
that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad he's letting
So
it.
don't hold on to any of that. Try to find forgiveness in your own heart, because he has.
That was him. That was him. He understood why his father didn't want him in his life, even though as a mother, I think you're more maternal, and you pray for your children every day, no matter where they are. And yeah, it was just, when he died, it was just awful. I mean, his father was just horrible at the funeral. He was horrible at the cemetery. I don't even know why he came. I don't even know why his dad came to the funeral, because he didn't. It just he was just so rude.
Well, almost no
To,
one will go to
Yeah.
his funeral anyway. But
yeah,
so Lisbeth,
yeah.
your son is showing me a bell. Now this is going to mean one of two things. Either there's a bell for Christmas that he wants you to put up, or he's going to ring something for you around the holidays to let you know he's around as a sign.
See, that's so strange because my two youngest grandkids, I got them boxes from the North Pole from Santa Claus, and I didn't order them, but two reindeer bells somehow got mixed up and put in those kids' packages.
Okay, he did that. He caused the mix-up to send you the bell for Christmas, and you're going to still get, the beauty of this is you're still
Yeah.
getting what you ordered, but for free. The bells came, and now you could put the bells up on wherever you want to put them for your son.
Yeah. So I was wondering where the bells came from. I even contacted the company, and they're like, well, they weren't in your order. So I said, I'll send them back. And they're like, no, you could just keep them. So
That's a whole new dimension, isn't it now? Spirit people used
I
to be able
like that.
yeah, we can start getting free stuff from Spirit, right? Okay. See, this is what he's learning. This is what he's studying upstairs. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I'm so
thank
glad to
you.
see you. You're also looking better, by the way.
Yeah, it was a rough couple of months, but you
Yeah.
you helped a lot. You really did. My first phone call to you, I was like on the edge.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
on the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're here for you, and I appreciate you being a member, and let's
Thank
keep in
you.
touch. Okay. Take care and get through these holidays, my friend. So, with that, I want to thank everyone very much for tuning in tonight. And also, I want to thank my guest, Chris. Chris, you were fabulous tonight.
Thank you.
You're always fabulous. But I feel like, I got out of the way enough to let you shine. So that's good.
Well, I think we've got a good fine balance of communication, and I've also been developing daily. I want to strength train my intuition every moment, every waking moment. This is what I do full time. This is my only job, and I just want to help people as much as possible. So thank you for the opportunity.
How can people find you, Chris?
You can find me at thetarotmedium.com, on Instagram at thetarotmedium.
Perfect. Thetarotmedium.com. And on Instagram, the Tarot Medium. Pretty simple. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I'm also broughperkins.ca. You can find my website or search my name, Brough Perkins, in Google, and you'll find me if you're interested in catching up on my work. We will be back, folks. Every week we're going to keep these live streams going. We'll have new guests. And Chris, you'll join us again, hopefully.
I would love to, especially going into the holidays, because I can feel how much people need who are missing their loved ones, and I would love to do more of this.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, without further ado, we'll see you again. Take care. Chris, hang on the line.